Hey, thanks for listening to this Trainer Spotlight episode on Fitlete Radio. My name is George Pagan III. Let's meet our coach.
Well, hello. My name is Coach Kev Dineen. I have a Bachelor in Science in Sports Medicine. I graduated in 2005. While I was there, I happened to have 1,500 hours of clinical experience working with Division One hockey, Division One football, in both strength and conditioning and sports medicine. And then I moved to New York City in 2006, where I stayed until 2021. While there, I was a manager at one of the largest personal training departments in the country, Equinox on 63rd Street. I was also, after 4 years there, I left to have a 150 square foot training facility inside a nail salon. 4 years later, I had a 1,600 square foot facility. 4 years later, after that, I had another facility, this time 6,000 square feet. I still have that one. And then I have another one now in St. Louis. So, yeah, that's me, Coach Kev.
I know you're an awesome coach and take your job seriously, but to get to know you a little bit more, can you tell us a funny story about your life that happened outside of coaching?
Hey, yeah, I think one of the funniest things that constantly happens to me that I can relate to clients is I constantly underestimate how much help I need on a certain project or thing that I'm working on. Um, and I'm constantly under budgeting for that amount of time and the amount of resources I need to allocate. Case in point, my first training facility, I thought I would be doing great by just having the option of training people at a 150 square foot facility, and that I needed a business partner. And I underestimated how much management that would take, and I underestimated how quickly I would reach my ceiling. I kind of didn't get burned out, but I sort of got burned out within just a few months because I was staring at 150 square feet within a nail salon. It was actually a former waxing room. I digress. And yeah, I underestimated both the amount of time that it would take for me to build that business into something bigger than what I wanted. But also, I was good at assessing the current clients and training clients. And we did that for a couple of years before I underestimated again the amount of resources I needed. When I had another facility, this is in the streets of New York City. That was from 2009 to 2013, where I underestimated. And so I have this tendency to constantly underestimate. So if you're doing a budget of either time, resources, financial, however you're doing a budget, I could accurately say from a financial, from a personal level, to always estimate a little bit higher than you think.
We can't train everyone exactly the same. Our clients come to us having different life experiences and sometimes force us to think outside the box when it comes to their training. As a coach, how do you problem solve with your clients who come to you with some common aches, pains, injuries, some physical limitations, or previous traumas so they can still get the results that they want and the ones that they came to you for?
Think this one's most accurately told as a story about a man who falls in a hole. I think if you see a lot of people, they often feel like you haven't experienced what they have before, or they're the only ones who have experienced what they're going through. And this is why this story is so powerful. So, a man falls in a hole, and when he falls in the hole, it's so deep that he can't get out. He can see out, but he can't get out. And so people walk by, it's on a busy street. People walk by, and one of the people that walks by, the first person, is a doctor. And he says, "Are you medically hurt?" He says, "No, I'm not." "Okay, well, I can write you a prescription." And he throws down a prescription and continues on. That doesn't help him get out of the hole, but now he at least has a prescription. The next person that comes by is a lawyer, and he says, "Who did this? Do you see who left this hole here for you?" And he says, "No, I didn't, but I need to get out of this hole." And he goes, "Well, here's my card. You call me when you find out who did this." And the lawyer moves on, and the poor guy is still stuck in the hole. Next, a person comes by, and he jumps down into the hole with them. And the guy says to him, and he goes, wait a minute, how are you down here? I need to get out of here. And the guy looks at me and goes, that's the idea. I've been in this situation before. I can help us get out. And I think that story always hits me a little bit different because I think so many people feel alone and they always feel like I'm the only one with this amount of back pain, or I'm the only one that has 3 kids and I don't have help at home, or I'm the only one who does, like, they just feel like they're a loner, that they're by themselves, that they are like basically one in a billion. And I think feeling like you have somebody who's been in the same situation or who's helped somebody in that same situation before is my number one goal when working with people. So how do I get into that hole and jump into the hole with them is just try to identify them. I sometimes call it the least common denominator, or if I try to find something that's we have in common and then work from there. Whether it's fitness, whether it's golf, whether it's sports, I think the finding that lowest common denominator is super helpful because then I can find out, kind of working laterally where they might also want to make progress, even if they didn't think it was possible before. So yeah, I love this question. I think problem solving is much simpler when you have an open dialogue with people. And yeah, I think the analogy is very helpful.
Just like we are, most of our clients are spending time on social media and can get information from other people in their family and social circles. When questions come up during coaching calls and training sessions, how do you address some of the common misconceptions around nutrition and exercise with these clients?
When it comes to misinformation, I think we can all agree that it's really everywhere. And discerning between information that is useful and between what isn't is really, really personal. So when I look at weighted vests, for instance, which is all the rage these days, or intermittent fasting, which has been around for centuries, but has really come up in the last 10 to 15 years, or cutting for fights, or something that's very, very prescient. Um, I just look at it how, from the person's eyes, like if you can see through John Smith's eyes, you can see what John Smith buys. So I try to relate back to the individual. For instance, somebody did ask me about the weight vest. And I said, will you try before you buy that weight vest by putting a 10-pound plate in your backpack and going for a walk? And they said, no. And I said, well, then what do you think about the weight vest? Well, I just wanted to know your opinion. So I think there's two different things to this. But number one is that some people just want to know what you think. And I won't spend too much time on that. Some people, though, if it's actually relative to them, they might want to use a weight vest, or they might want to consider going on a GLP-1, or right. But so they're going to ask you their opinion. They're going to ask you your opinion, and I think you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt where the level of implementation is for them, but also how does it relate to, is it something in your area of expertise? Is it something where you need to, Lane Norton will take down anybody that doesn't agree with the science and or is scientifically spreading inaccuracies. I think while that is one way of going about it, I think addressing the science to the person and knowing that science is usually a lagging indicator, which is still okay. Doesn't mean I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with the science, but it is a lagging indicator. And using that person in front of you and asking them, how does this relate to what your goals are? Kind of drawing that line is super important. So yeah, I think the being you can stir the pot. It's somewhat easy to stir the pot and be controversial into, people are talking down about Pilates right now. Like if somebody's going to work out in a Pilates, in an F45, in an Orange Theory, in a CrossFit, in a Rumble, in a Row House, in a Lifetime Fitness, in an Equinox Fitness, in a Planet Fitness, if someone's working out, is that the real opponent? Or is the people who aren't working out, is motivating them to get off their couch and into the gym? Is that the real opponent slash person that we're trying to reach? So I think it really depends on the person in front of you and their goals.
Our clients can come to us for many reasons, and often they tell us in their consultations or new lead questionnaire that they have multiple goals or they're trying to work on a couple of things. Usually it's not just one sole specific thing. How do you approach goal setting with these clients who have multiple objectives when you ask them about what their goals are?
I probably should have used this as my funny story. So, 2 weeks ago, I was taking my dog for a walk, and we actually saw two rabbits. And I let him chase two rabbits. And you know that he didn't catch either, right? Just like the old adage, a man who chases two rabbits loses both. And while that's not always true, that hybrid training is real and you can train for multiple adaptations at once, I think the understanding goal setting for the client and the average client that trains with a trainer. So the average client that trains with a trainer is 2 times a week, right? And so if somebody's coming in 2 times a week, what sort of goals should they have? A lot of them will tell you they'd like to get stronger. That's most likely going to happen. Got that. Okay, what else can I help with? Oh, I'd like to improve my endurance. Okay, that's most likely going to happen too, especially if you're working out. Now, what type of cardio equipment do you have access to that doesn't bother your joints, tendons, ligaments, and make you so that you fall asleep at your desk from being too intense and not relative to you? And if they've already answered those two and you know that they're maybe 2 to 3 times a week and they're more complex than that, then yes, the multiple objectives is interesting. I think supporting the goal and the first goal, like if somebody has a fat loss goal, but they also want their VO2 max to go up, can those be simultaneously chased? Yes. Will it be difficult? Yes. If somebody has um, powerlifting meet, but they also have to cut. You know, that's old, a tale as old as time, but it's going to be harder. If somebody has training for an outside sport, but they have no access to outside, you know, how do we do that? How do we get them, you know, in some of the urban areas that people they don't have court, or they don't have outside heat acclimation situations? How do they do that? So I think the question of multiple objectives is it can be difficult, but in the same token, I think getting people to look at what's right in front of them right now. I like that old adage from Lou Holtz, a former coach at Notre Dame, of what's important now, win, WIN. If your first thing is that you want to lose 8 to 10 pounds of body fat, then yeah, let's focus on the pulling the main levers for that. And then if you'd like to get your strength up and or your grip strength and or your hanging strength and do your first chin up, cool, let's do all of those things. And speaking of chin ups, if that's one of your goals, then maybe losing 8 to 10 pounds will help you on that goal. So yeah, I think this question's sort of easy. I think you just have to prod a little bit and ask a little bit more detailed questions. The Toyota method used to, when they, from a management perspective, involved asking 5 whys. So you want to lose fat? Why? Well, because I'd like to do this. And then keep asking those whys. And eventually you'll find out their real reason.
I believe all coaches should have similar baseline knowledge before starting to work with people. And I'm building Fitlete to help bridge some of these gaps that exist in our exposure to education. What experiences or qualifications do you think are crucial for coaches to have in order to deliver the best service they can for their clients?
I think in-person experiences are gold from a experience and training and 360-degree perspective. And that is where most personal trainers should start. I think a certification is important. I think education, again, I have a 4-year degree, 1,500 clinical hours. Those are absolutely massive weapons when somebody comes to me and they say, I need help in getting my back to not bother me after a round of golf or tennis or a trip or after playing with my kids. But I think from a personal training perspective, the one weapon that the personal trainer can wield at a very, very high level is saying to somebody who's a coach, hey, I saw your training facility, I've seen your social media, I've seen what you guys stand for, I see what you do. Can I be a fly on the wall? First of all, if somebody said that to me, I'd say yes. I actually had that happen multiple times. Second, if they did show prowess while doing so, and they showed interest, and they showed that they had good communication skills and good listening skills and good presence, what do you think the chances of them getting a job are? Right? So those lower level items that most people would say are on the lower end of the spectrum of importance show up massively when they leave and people say, oh, you know what, I really like that person, or are they going to become a trainer here, or what do you think, are you going to hire him? Right? So that kind of question slash presence can be felt, And so the experiences from a trainer perspective actually can qualify you as somebody that people want to work with. At the end of the day, that's actually it. In the question itself is the service that they can deliver for their clients. And that's actually one thing I think that's missing too. In order to serve people, we have to give up a bit of what we think as far as a bias is concerned. What I mean by that is we might be barbell or kettlebell aficionados, but the person in front of us may not like barbell or kettlebells. So we have to actually give up that bias in order to meet that person because they might have a barbell or kettlebell fear. And for the time being, we need to solve the problem, which is whatever they're facing in front of us without those. And it's going to take a little bit of kind of adherence to programming principles and maybe having a system built around maybe not necessarily one modality. So I think the bridge does exist between certification and actual expertise of the client, of the trainer. But I think the simple fix is to try to get an experience, an in-person experience with a trainer or a gym that you respect, admire, and maybe want to work for.
Our industry is evolving every step of the way, and we're getting to the point where it's essential to have some sort of technology within your business for both the experiences you can deliver for your clients and your ability to grow sustainably. How do you use technology to assist you in your coaching as a coach and behind the scenes as a coach that nobody really sees?
I think technology can actually interrupt the experience from a client perspective. What I mean by that is our clients are bombarded by information, by sales, by misinformation. So technology at the moment is an interruption. Using Whoop, using Aura Rings, using HRV monitoring technology can be useful, but to what end? Our goal as an industry is to get people to work out more, to get people to strength train, to build up their lean body mass, to improve their cardiovascular fitness so that they can have and extract more value from their daily living. And I think going back to the origin of the question, technology isn't going to change the weight on the bar. It can change how you read it, but technology isn't going to change necessarily the effort needed on the concept two rower or the skier or the bike. But technology can actually, in talking about technology, record the weight that you lifted. If you'd like to use an app, technology can, I love the concept to logbook and their community. It can record your personal best. It can celebrate your personal best. When used correctly, technology can be a powerful weapon from a fitness perspective. I personally use technology at a very minimal level. We use Google Sheets to track all of our workouts. They change every month. We track every single workout. And soon enough, Google Sheets will be able to turn all of that data into its own system, and AI will be able to say, oh, their personal previous best was. So Google is just that smart. As far as the behind the scenes as a coach, billing, I like it automated. I like it monthly. I don't want to touch it. I like to set it and forget it. From the client's sustainability perspective, they also like the ability to schedule. They also like the ability to check and see how many sessions they have remaining. They also like the ability to see what their workout is on the road. So another win for Google Sheets. The only other really big piece of technology that we use in New York at the New York location is InBody. I think the InBody is an invaluable asset to anybody looking to make a transformation. Even if it's 8 to 10 pounds, the 8 to 10 pound of fat loss will show up massively on somebody who has struggled with it for a long time. And building lean body mass while losing 8 to 10 pounds of fat can show up. That can be a +8 and -8, +8 in lean body mass and -8 in fat. It just shows up very different. So yeah, that's the biggest piece of technology that we use as a weapon for fat loss.
Kevin, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some great info about yourself. Kevin and I met while we were eating dinner at the Real Coaches Summit. I believe it was the first year that I went, and man, was he an impressive coach. And as we got to know each other a little bit more, it turned out he was a business owner as well, on top of being a coach, and started from really nice, humble beginnings with his facilities and sizes, and is just an awesome person to talk with. To me, he was one of the perfect examples of a coach who's done absolutely incredible work and has had success in his career, but maintains a really humble demeanor when you talk to him. Makes it really easy to talk to and get along with. I hope one day we can hit the links together and just have a blast on the golf course. I'm glad you got to know Kevin a little bit more through this episode. Check the show notes to see how to connect with him best. That's all for this episode. If you want to learn more about Fitlete and our resource nexus for coaches and personal trainers, visit fitlete.com. That's FITLETE.com. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.